Here I am in the side of gums, just about to start painting, but I've got to get my palette together, so it's a palette, bad palette, good palette. It's about how you can hold them. All that yellow's got all over me already. I gave this a scrub yesterday, so it's nice and clean. Oh, just spent some really lovely energy drawing the drawing for the painting, and now it's ready to begin. Had a wonderful time last night in life drawing classes. It was actually really good practice for drawing this canvas. It's a pretty big scale, as you've seen, or we'll see. And being able to fill that space and get the whole canvas in, liking the look of it. A lot of little trees or big trees in the background behind, but the trunk's very big and central, so that lets you make painting a little bit easier. It's a bit easier to paint the bark and things like that. It's a lot of work in that, but it's quite a bit different to a thin tree where you've got 90% of your canvas is what's behind it. This fella here is taking up 60% of the actual canvas space, so that's really nice. Just a matter of loading up my canvas with my brushes, with the ones I need. Probably means I put most out, but love my oil paints. This'll just about run out of that brand new tube. As I talk about a brand new tube, Art Spectrum. This is an Australian company and it made paints here in Melbourne, Australia, and they are spectacular. Really brilliant paint. I classify them as the best in the world. I wouldn't bother using any other paint. Anything else is probably just brand name and pretension. I've been painting with Art Spectrum paints for, it's close on now 45 years, and one thing I've noticed with them is that they, let's put that one on the wrong spot, there we go, over there. They are as fresh today as when I painted with them 40 years ago. Their permanence and vibrancy and everything just hangs on. They're a pigment paint, best quality pigments in the world. Does really matter what pigments you use. So you know, when it gets around to these little fellas here, I won't put much out today, but the cadmium yellows are probably the only yellows that don't fade very quickly over time. So the problem with cadmium, it's a heavy metal and it's potentially quite toxic. We don't use lead paint anymore. Lead paint was for white, and lead's obviously, I think it's actually been banned from paint. I know there are a few people that potentially make their own, but lead paint, not really helpful, but it's not needed. You know, it goes yellow over time. It doesn't last, so there's no real need to paint with lead paint. And so I have this problem with my titanium. I haven't managed to get a lid to fit it back again. It's a little bit jammed up as it dries in the thing. Just wiping that on a piece of cloth, by the way, not the ground. So this is titanium white. Until recently I used to think titanium was that colour, like titanium white, the nice white ash, but I discovered, because Art Spectrum issued a new paint just recently called unbleached titanium, and unbleached titanium's quite a browny, fleshy, it's a beautiful paint. I used to use, in its place, I used to use the Naples yellow, Naples yellow, which is a really popular paint. Used to be made with lead oxide as well, and this was used by all the old masters. But I'm actually finding that this new unbleached titanium is replacing it. This is a little bit too yellow for an Australian environment, and although there are patches, I'm just looking through the gums where the bark is peeled off these cider gums, and it's likely that I'll use some of that in some of those spots, but generally speaking, don't need that anymore. The other one I'm nearly out of is this Prussian Blue. It's funny, it's never been a popular blue, but it's actually a blue that sits in the Australian landscape really well. It's a blue-green, but it's not like a Pathillo blue, which is very green. And yeah, I find it's just the rich and deep darkness in this. And it's the blue you need to make Australian leaf greens. So that one becomes there. Very rarely in a situation like this where I'm in the middle of a thing, I might use a little bit of cobalt. Might come back to that one in a minute. I've got bits of blue sky happening behind me, but I'm just trying to decide what I do with the skies there. Whether I go for a bluer or a greyer, I'll make that decision a little bit later, I think. Normally I paint my skies first, but everywhere in this painting, skies are a very small part of what I'm seeing. So I'm thinking I might not bother at this point, maybe do a little bit up the top and paint some blue in, but not sure about where the sun's going to move around to that way. We're now approaching winter. It's end of April, beginning of May, and the light will be over in this direction most of the time. So this is a winter painting. It's not that cold today, I haven't got gloves on, but it will get cold, and maybe I'll get this painting where I'll have snowfall and I'll put snow in to add more to that, but we'll see what it is. It is a snow gum. Not quite sure whether it'll end up with snow in it or not. Obviously the degree of umber. My other favourite colour is Van Dyke Brown. Maybe it's the Renaissance influence of me, the Northern Renaissance, the Dutchies. And I use a lot of painting methods from that period. A lot of things that Rembrandt used to do. He probably used this brown to get his really dark spaces. It's a beautiful brown. It's the base underneath a lot. See how that runs, a bit of raw sienna, a bit of earths. I come back around the corner to here, and I'm using this a lot more now. Art Spectrum make quite a few colours, about 10, 15 colours, depending where you're in Australia. Some aren't useful here in Tasmania, but they make an Australian leaf green and a light leaf green as well. Now the advantage, what I find for these, is that they're transparent, so it's got these qualities that I really love. Because I'm working in glazes, I use transparent paints all the time, and if they're not transparent, I make them transparent. But this one here, beautiful rich deep green, which matches perfectly the bushes here in the Tassie landscape. Pretty hard to tell that apart. So you won't catch me using a Viridian green or something like that. That is so European and oak type of tree. Just does not work in the Australian landscape. And that's probably why I avoid the Pathillos as well. They don't really work. So wow, I keep looking at this canvas and it's looking fantastic for the shadows. that have been caused by this cider gum. I'm actually under the canopy of the cider gum. I'm just been checking it out before, making sure it's unlikely to drop a branch of these. I don't think they are. They're looking pretty healthy. There's a less healthy one here, but it won't fall on me if it fell. So I'm pretty sure above's okay, but we'll see what happens over time. I'll be here for quite a lot of periods of time. Because it's a big canvas, it might take me 10-12 weeks of getting up here. I'm hoping I can get up here close on every week, but there's no guarantee of that. It's weather dependent. But trying a new experiment out today. I'm camping, so staying overnight, which means I don't have to worry about packing up to get a drive home. The light here changes about 3 o'clock and it becomes very different again. So I'll be heading over there and there. So hopefully a winter painting, one like this, I can start painting around about 11 o'clock and finish about 3, and that gives me 4 solid hours. If I'm camping overnight though, I can paint a bit longer and paint into the later afternoon, and certainly I can get up and do some more in the morning a bit earlier. But light doesn't matter. Because it's all mostly coming from the north, it won't vary too much in its location. Now what else do I need here? Now I'm one for breaking all the rules when it comes to paint. And so that's what I'm looking for. Black! They use black, they shout and scream! Particularly Impressionists. Oh, it'll go dark, it's flat, it's matte. Well, it might be if you don't use glazes and other things. But it tones down, and in reality I'm a tonalist at one level, but I'm a Renaissance tonalist, not a Max Meldrumite. And just about done. Now, I'm going to have to clean this baby out. Had a little bit of oil left over from yesterday or the day before.